Brian Salisbury here for Gordon and the Whale. We're sitting with Karl Urban, the star of Fantastic Fest entry Red, or I guess I should say one of the stars, because this is a phenomenal ensemble film. Can you tell me a little bit about working with this cast?
We had a pretty fun time. I mean, it's a pretty amazing cast. We've got, Morgan Freeman, John Malkovich, Helen Mirren, Bruce Willis, Ernest Borgnine, Richard Dreyfuss. I mean, we're pretty spoiled in the cast department. They were fantastic. They were really pretty amazing to watch them go through their paces.
Absolutely, and you hold your own with them, which is very, very impressive. And also, I kind of wanted to ask you, you seem to have found a comfortable home in these genre films, in these kind of high-concept fantasy, action, sci-fi films. What does it mean to you to have this film playing this festival, a festival that is so receptive to that kind of material?
I'm really just thrilled that this film had its really kind of first official airing here. It is, based on the graphic novel, so it's sort of, lends itself quite well to this crowd, and I was very happy with the way the movie went over. It's just a good fun ride.
Absolutely, and it fits in so well here, and it played tremendously. Yeah. The crowd was really into it. I kind of wanted to ask you about the fight scene with you and Bruce Willis. That looked brutal. Did you have to actually take a punch from Bruce Willis, or was he good about pulling back? I know sometimes he kind of goes all out. So
it was brutal. It really was. We did everything as within the parameters of as much safety as we could. But it's obviously inevitable that when you work like that you're going to get bumps and bruises, and certainly that was no exception. But I have to say we had a really fantastic team that we were working with. Buster Reeves and Paul and they really they really took care of us. We trained for about 4 weeks for that fight, and shot it over a period of 2 weeks, and it was grueling. It was pretty intense.
It looked phenomenal. And there is one question, if I can get away from the movie for just a second, I'll obviously come back to it. I've always wanted to ask, if you could play one historical figure, just you had your pick, they were making a movie, you could decide the movie and obviously play the lead role, who would it be?
Wow. One historical figure. Wow, that's a good question. There's many. I think what Ernest Shackleton accomplished was pretty extraordinary. And there's a New Zealand a mountain climber who passed away on Everest. He was a mountain guide named Rob Hall, and he basically refused to leave his client who was dying on the mountain, and so it ended up costing him his life as well. But it was an extraordinary story. The story sort of touched upon a little bit in John Krakauer's book Into Thin Air, which is a fantastic read if you haven't read it.
Definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting me diverge a little bit there.
Segue!
Let me ask you this, because I hope you don't mind answering probably your millionth question about Judge Dredd. But can you tell me a little bit about, because I know you're a fan of Judge Dredd, and it's a comic book that doesn't get a lot of appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you want to bring to that character, knowing that since the first film has come out, the audience has changed pretty dramatically?
I feel pretty blessed because we've got a really great script written by Alex Garland, and Pete Travis is going to direct it, and I very much plan to be very kind of faithful in many respects to what John Wagner originally created back in '77, and it's going to be gritty, hardcore. The world is going to be a lot more realistic. It's not going to look like it's a studio backlot, and it's going to be sort of a pretty high octane ride.
And you're keeping the helmet on the whole time, I heard.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the way the character was originally conceived.
Precisely.
It's part of the enigma of Dredd, and you know, he represents that sort of that faceless system of justice. You know, and I think it's kind of cool. It's like, as I said last night, it's like getting to the end of a Clint Eastwood Western and realizing, oh, I didn't even know the character's name. You know, so it's kind of cool.
Very mysterious. I like it. I like it. So I know that with Star Trek, you're a big fan of the series.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me maybe your favorite episode or episodes of the original series?
Yeah, I like the Thorlian Web. That was one of my favorites. A Mock Time, I think, was also pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
What else? Oh, there's many.
Yeah, those are two fantastic episodes, to be certain. And I know that's, I guess what was so interesting to me about, because you know, a lot of actors who play these adapted roles have to kind of go out and do research after the fact.
Yeah.
But you know, I know with Star Trek you were such a big fan, and I think that's kind of why. Because honestly, your performance as Bones is so inspired, and it's such a, you know, and people like to say you capture DeForest Kelley so well, and that's part of it. But it really kind of shines through that you actually were a fan, and you had been familiar with this, and I think that's why it stands out so much. So I just kind of wanted to ask about that. What is your most memorable film-related experience from your childhood?
Well, I think when I was about sort of 7 years old, my mother worked at a production company that would lease out film equipment, and every so often they would screen a New Zealand film that had just been made on the garage door for the techies and the crew.
Oh, wow.
So I was, you know, all of 7 years old and watching these really amazing New Zealand films like Goodbye Pork Pie, Smash Palace and Utu, and you know, watching actors like Bruno Lawrence and Zach Wallace, yeah, I was pretty inspired by what they did, and I think that's where I made my mind up that was kind of the direction I was going to head.
You've played a lot of American characters that kind of forces you to hide your accent. And to be perfectly honest with you, I had no idea that you were from New Zealand until you got up at the Q&A last night and started speaking.
Yeah.
So can you tell me just maybe a little bit about how you, like, the training process for that must be intense?
Yeah, it is. It's like any other element in a character that you have to devote time and energy into getting it right. Whether it's learning to ride a horse or fire a gun, or you know.
Both things he's also learned to do, by the way. I just wanted to throw that out there.
You know, drive cars pretty fast, and you know, the dialect is another aspect, and you know, it just takes commitment.
Well, you've done a fantastic job with it. Fantastic performance in this movie, and I really do appreciate your time today,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Burton.
much.